and welcome to Squad, your favorite source for everything esports and gaming. I'm Lisa Dwan, and we got a lot of great stuff planned for you tonight. As always, we have Unmuted, where Marissa and Brody will be bringing you the latest in gaming news and memes. Later on in Esports N30, AJ and Ron will be sitting on that couch back there, bringing you everything you need to know about the Overwatch League. But before we get to all that, let's check out the latest game releases in the loadout.
What would you do different?
I told you. I'm going to take back what's ours.
Last year, Nintendo announced a bunch of Final Fantasy ports that would be coming to the Switch in 2019. And this week, the last one finally arrives, and it's a big one. Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, is an HD remaster of the original PS2 classic, and is more specifically a port of the original remaster released in 2017. For those who haven't played this game, Final Fantasy XII revolves around the fate of a small nation, Dalmasca, as it's caught between two superpowers waging a never-ending war. When it's annexed by one kingdom, Dalmasca's princess creates a resistant movement to regain her country. Along the way, she teams up with a young street urchin and his friend, a pair of sky pirates, and a traitor to her kingdom as she takes the fight to the evil empire. Yeah, this is pretty much just like Star Wars in terms of plot. Not that that's a bad thing, especially when it's told this well. Final Fantasy XII features a seamless open world with battles occurring in real time to let you program how you and your allies behave. And in the Zodiac Age edition, you choose two classes for each character, allowing you to combine different abilities in surprising ways. For example, become a knight and a time mage so you can increase the speed of your attacks while still hitting enemies hard. There's a ton of side quests, an orchestrated soundtrack, optional quality of life features, and more, all of which serve to make this the definitive edition of a JRPG classic.
I have waited so long for this.
Speaking of ports, PC players will finally have access to Ubisoft's space action game Starlink Battle for Atlas on April 30th. Set in the Atlas star system, players will explore it in their spaceship to build alliances with alien species in order to recruit them to your crew. Exploration is wide open, meaning you can go wherever you want the moment you step into the commander's chair. You can even fly down to a planet straight from space, skimming across its surface to explore. Of course, there are plenty of enemies and hazards that you'll have to deal with along the way, all of which is conducted in third-person combat. And in order to succeed, you can outfit your ship with new parts, such as weapons, wings, and modules that you can change whenever you want. The original console version features a toy-to-life element, where physical toys you purchase unlock digital content in-game. Though Ubisoft is no longer releasing new toys, it still plans to continue updating the game with new content into the future. So if you're looking for a lighthearted action game set in space, you could do a lot worse than Starlink Battle for Atlas. Devolver Digital's charming action RPG, The Swords of Ditto, hits the Switch this week, which is about high time if you ask me. Seriously, this cute game is perfect for Nintendo's console, and I'm surprised it didn't come to it sooner. In any case, The Swords of Ditto is about a randomly generated hero who must go on a quest to defeat a being called Mormo with a certain amount of time. Played from a top-down perspective, you'll travel the lands, completing quests and gathering items. Of course, you'll probably die or run out of time, at which point a new hero will arrive sometime in the future to pick up where the first hero left off. Yet the world will change every time you die depending on the actions you made while alive. Help everyone out and kill dangerous monsters, and your next hero will run through a happy world filled with sunshine and rainbows. Fail to do much of anything, and you'll instead find a world in ruins. And it's literally all your fault. The Swords of Ditto comes equipped with a 2-player co-op mode if you want to defeat evil with your friend. The Switch version also launches with Momo's Curse DLC, which adds new areas to explore, new items, and changes how your sword works. All in all, if you didn't play The Sword of Ditto when it launched last year, there's no excuse to not try it out now. Welcome to Unmuted, where we got your gaming and esports hot topics, hot tweets, and the spiciest memes. I'm Marissa Roberto.
And I'm Brody Moore. Producer Tyler has 2 minutes on the board and topics at the bottom of your screen. One of us may get out of line and need to shut the other up for 30 seconds, so that's why we have this trusty mute button.
That's right, we do. Of course, we love it when the chat calls us out when we're wrong, so don't be shy. We can take it.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off with our top story and some of the big competitive changes to Overwatch. Blizzard released new patch notes for Season 16 for competitive Overwatch, and it has a big change that players are happy about. Players rated Grandmaster or higher can now queue up duos, preventing them from slacking in full groups of 6. Now, Overwatch League players have been asking for this change for a long time, and some are hopeful that more changes they've asked for, well, that they're on the way. So, Brody, is this a good sign?
No more 6-stack GMs.
Yeah, no more 6-stack jams. The thing is, though, if we're being realer than real, none of us can actually enjoy these changes because none of us are actually that good at Overwatch, except for Ron,
apparently.
And also Zurich, our very own Zurich. They were a Grandmaster. Well, he was a Grandmaster at one point.
Okay, well, Zurich got it, then it's not that hard to get.
Okay.
Shots.
No, literally, Ron explained to me it's like the top 1%, less than top 1% of players of Overwatch get to this point. So the queue lines are actually quite long.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, why are people concerned that Blizzard isn't listening to, like, first off, Blizzard releases heroes and characters just to specifically break up the meta at top level play. So they are paying attention to competitive, but most games don't really care too much. Obviously, the OWL shows that they care. But like, consider that. You said it yourself. This is the top 1%.
Yeah.
Like, why would Blizzard go in and then like change a whole game and do all these things that 1% of their player base wants?
Right.
They have to pay attention to the casual audience, to the rest of the 99% as well.
Yeah,
right?
but it could be like a trickle-down effect too, right? Like maybe this will also apply to other things happening as we move down into like the 5%, the 10%, the people that are still up there but maybe might experience these problems moving forward.
Well, the issue is a lot of people are complaining, oh, it's like all the QOL, the quality of life stuff that's not going to change. But as you get your quality of life stuff fixed and added into the game, you're going to find more things, and you're always going to complain. I've seen this in every scene. It is not exclusive to the Overwatch scene. Every scene will continue to complain at everything at the top level.
Oh
the
my
top
gosh.
1% will always complain about something. So you just got to take what they're saying with a grain of salt, in all honesty.
Yeah, but this is just art reflecting life as it does. Like, this is just how the world works too. The 1%
Sure.
do complain. It's just how it works. When we have more things, we have more things to complain about, right?
Exactly.
Rip.
Anyways, we got to move on. Fortnite players are up in arms yet again. Look at complaining. This time over a new cheating accusation. This time, players are claiming that Rise's Xif teamed up with his teammates in the latest solo qualifier to get free points. Xif allegedly had friends land near him in games where he could easily kill them after they made some questionable moves. Epic Games has not responded to the allegations as of yet. Now, Marissa, do you think that they're going to have to make a change to the way that they do these? Because it seems like there's new stuff when it comes to drama in Fortnite every single week.
Yeah, all the time. A lot of it is conjured up by the 1%, as Dave just so lovingly spoke of them. Yeah, I do think that Riot needs to, Riot's
Yeah, that was the last one.
I do that Epic needs to do something about this for the scene, because obviously we don't want to condone cheating in any way, right? So and that's what would upset me as a gamer, as a player, as a casual, okay, as it were. I really get upset when people cheat and get away with cheating, especially when they're getting in to events that require a certain amount of points to get into. So it's not cool. Hopefully they respond with something.
Now,
I would hope that from Epic.
I'm with you, and I think it's scummy and stupid to do that. Like, I've seen it like way back in the Call of Duty days. People would just have their buddy sit in a corner, and you just go kill your buddy the whole time. I've seen it. But to be devil's advocate, even to my own opinion, you know, if it's in the game, why not exploit it? I mean, like, there's money on the line here. Is it up to the players to not do this, or is it up to the developers to change things, right?
Okay,
is this up to Epic right now to make sure that they have a system in place that players can't exploit?
Yes.
Because if it's there, someone's going to exploit it, so you may as well be the one exploiting it first, so you're not left behind.
Brody, no.
Right?
No, now you're making excuses for like the disgusting humans that live in this world because there's a way to exploit something. I'm gonna exploit it. No, this is the kind of stuff that really upsets me, okay? Because they're good-hearted, kind, hard-working people out there that put their lives into this game, that don't have any friends to drop in to just kill to get these free points. That's not fair. Like, everything in this world should be fair. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world like that, but in video games, at least the developers can do something to make it so.
Okay, cool. So it is on the developers, not the players.
That's what I'm saying.
So let the players exploit it.
No. You're saying don't hate the player, hate the game.
Your argument fell
Which is
apart.
what No, it's not an argument falling apart. That's literally what it is.
No,
we can't
I agree.
Hate the player,
Don't
we
be
have to hate the game.
stupid, but at the same time, maybe it's not on the players.
You're literally made 0 points here. You're just reiterating what I've said.
Okay,
anyway,
chat, tell
Riot
her how she's
Games is
dumb.
back in the news. Shut up. Back in the news again thanks to his gender discrimination scandal. Last week, it was reported that the developer is trying to force 2 women who are suing the company into private arbitration. Now, a new report says that some employees have had enough of Riot's actions and are planning to stage a walkout in protest of the company's decisions. The employees would stop working for a full day next week, all to try and stop Riot from punishing those involved in the lawsuits. Okay, Brody, you missed this yesterday. Lisa and I discussed it, but do you think now that, because it's like the next stage, the next chapter in the story here, but do you think this walkout could actually be effective for Riot?
Yeah, no, I think you always have to be, you can't be passive. Like passive activism, so slacktivism or slacktivism, those words.
It's funny because like
just being passive doesn't do anything. You have to do these things, right?
Yeah. This all came about in the company Slack. So it's
it works.
There's Slack in there somewhere.
Something came out of that mess of
but
words.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, the employees here have a legitimate reason to stage a walkout.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, if they feel like their employees employers aren't doing anything to actually aid the situation. Somebody that they complained about for doing, inappropriate things in the workplace is still there. Like, yeah, he left and he didn't get paid for a month and he went to training and he came back. So do you feel like he's not done his time then and he should be able to be allowed back into the workplace?
It takes time to implement changes. Like, you can't change someone in a matter of a month, right? It's going to take time, but as long as they're not doing the walkout just because the company's trying to settle it outside of court. Every company will do that with every lawsuit, not just sexual lawsuits. Any lawsuit, any company will try to do it away from public eye. That's just the way they're going to do it. Walking out to make changes in the workplace so they feel comfortable working there, that's valid. That's important. So as long as that's what they're doing it for and they know their cause, getting out there and actually taking action is absolutely important. I admire that. I don't know if a day is going to be enough. It might have to be more than that.
Well,
like
because, because within Riot, like obviously they have people that work in HR and they want to have individual sessions with these people that feel discriminated against or feel that they've been, abused in some way. And so they want to have like these private one-on-one meetings. But they obviously, when you have an issue with something and other people have survived that issue as well, you want to be with them because you want to have some kind of camaraderie. You want to feel stronger because you are stronger as a team. So this walkout, I think, is very important for them just to feel like they have people supporting them.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can get dangerous with too much of a safe space, but if everyone feels that way, good on them. Good on you guys for walking out.
I know. I really hope the best for these people, honestly. Like, it makes me feel so sad.
Yes, we have to move on now.
Fine.
Our last story is our most horrifying one.
Oh, great.
That's because at approximately 8:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning, the world was graced with the first trailer for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And boy, is it something else. Starring James Marsden, Jim Carrey, and Ben Schwartz, the movie releases this November. And if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it in full. Pause this, go watch it in full. And hate your life.
Oh my God.
Jesus, Marissa, what do you think of this?
First of all, like, we're the absolute worst for going with something very serious into something that's like not serious at all, which is this freaking trailer. It is really dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
really dumb.
That really stupid, but they have to put in humor there, right? Or else people aren't going to go to the movies. I love Jim Carrey. I think he's an absolute national treasure, BT dubs. But I'm not sure about this movie. Like, it's just very...
I'm conflicted because...
I'm so confused.
There are things that seem redeeming. Jim Carrey is one of the only things redeeming as long as he gets fat and bald by the end of it. They stay true to it. Obviously they tease the balding in it. But he does need to get fat too. But he seems like one of the only redeeming factors. Marsden seems all right as well. There's a couple good one-liners in there. But I feel like whenever I'm watching it and Sonic's on screen, I'm just gonna feel uneasy, man. He's got human teeth.
Well, yeah, he has human teeth.
That's weird.
Which is weird. And also, why did they play Gangster's Paradise for the entirety of that trailer? Like, why was that the music they chose? It's just
Gangster's Paradise. Yeah, what?
Very strange.
And does he have electrical powers now too?
Yeah, he seems to have some kind of electric something. So like even it's held in his hair.
Do you think this is like would it do fine if it wasn't like released in the same year as Detective Pikachu? Because I feel like Detective Pikachu is gonna blow it out of the water.
I hope so. That's coming out soon. We're gonna go see it. We'll go see it. It's gonna be a squad venture. I'll go see it together.
So do you think Sonic's gonna suffer because of this? Or it's gonna suffer because of its own?
I feel like if Detective Pikachu, I feel like it will be okay. It might reap the rewards of it because if it's done really well, Detective Pikachu is very good. Then people might want to see a continuation of this kind of weird, animated, furry thing brought to life with human teeth. Like why does he have teeth?
You're right. Yeah, come on. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know if I want to watch it. Let's move on. Anyways, it's time to see what streamers are up to in clip. But our first clip comes from IRL streamer Hey Guys, who decided to go out for a smoke when this happened.
I never come up here, but I know my neighbors do. It's fine. Curse Media was sold, yeah. That was one part of Curse.
No,
that's what you get for going to a place you shouldn't get.
Well, no, that's what you get for smoking.
Was that fire alarm or a burglar alarm?
No, she just shouldn't smoke.
She's breaking in.
If she wasn't a smoker, she wouldn't have gone
to
do that.
It's all because you're smoking. But
don't smoke.
Also just don't break into places. That's what you're doing.
No,
breaking
she
into
was
place
just
while
like
you're streaming.
I think she was using maybe the fire estate. Yeah, don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes. Like that's the name. I actually enjoy a nice cigar every now and again.
Yeah, would you have I want to know what happened next though. Would you have just sat there and told someone, or would you be like, I'm out?
Oh, well, there's probably security footage, so I probably couldn't get away with not telling somebody. But as I've learned in my life, it's better to ask for forgiveness.
I bet you played a lot of Nicky 9 doors. Like you were probably going down the street trolling people.
Oh my gosh, I would never do that. I was such a good kid. And also, that's bad karma. Shut up. Our next clip comes from Aris, who, it could be actually Ari, depends. Sometimes when you're Greek, you pronounce it both ways. Anyway, whatever. Dropping some knowledge for all of us to pick up.
You know, you Aris fans are always trying to pretend like you're a bunch of 12-year-old stoners, but the reality is a lot of you are actually adults that are very successful and mature, and you use this as an outlet to behave like a little bitch. But outside of this chat room, you're a totally normal and successful functioning member of society. You're just pretending to be a little bitch so that there can be balance in your life.
Thank you.
You know? You gotta somewhere. You're just here.
Okay, Lily confirmed it's Aris. Also, yeah, is he talking about Keemstar?
No, because Keemstar is a little B.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, but no, really, it's true. And this is what I tell people. If you're ever like online and people are just like being stupid and like immature, just assume that they're a 12-year-old, or in this case, someone pretending to be a 12-year-old.
Like this is how they get all their aggression.
Yeah, that is the I guess the beauty and the issue with the internet and having like pseudo-anonymity, because it's like you can just create another ego. It's almost like role playing, right? Like, and you see how big GTA RP is getting, right? So it's like people love to try to be other people, and if you can,
if they could be dicks.
you could be that. But I don't get why. I mean, like, just don't be a dick.
Because of Schadenfreude. How many times do I have to tell you? You take joy in other people's pain, and if you can inflict it anonymously, well, that's even better, because, like, does karma really get you if you're anonymous?
Well, no, karma doesn't get you because karma ain't doing anything.
What?
We talked about this.
Brody.
Good people fail and bad people succeed sometimes.
Oh my God,
it's
that
just
is
the way
not
of
true.
life. It is the truth.
No, listen, it truly is now the best time of day where we scroll through the Twitters to bring you all the things of pros and quote pros unquote spit onto the timeline. This one comes from a real pro with real feelings. Hug says, so Espat told me he had plans to watch GOT last night, so when I finished watching, I immediately walked up to him and made a joke about the episode's biggest spoiler, only to find out he didn't end up watching. I felt awful. I can't believe some of y'all spoil for fun.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about before there, is that some people just go on to, also warning, actually, this is a great time to warn people right now.
What?
If you haven't seen GOT or Endgame in that, be careful on Twitch, be careful in Discord. There are a group of people going around and raiding people's Twitch chats and Discords, spoiling all of these things for everyone.
Brody,
so be careful.
Being super late to the party. This has been happening like the entire weekend.
Well, it's been happening for years for other things. Just be careful. You can't say it enough.
I know.
Be careful.
In Twitch chat, it's so scary out there for sure. But also the whole Game of Thrones thing. I got into a few fights actually on Twitter with people, just especially the COD community, was just like
it's always the COD community.
They were just out there like talking about everything in the episode on Twitter. Like, you guys, there are Reddit threads for this. Why are you on Twitter discussing this openly? Like, people, even if they don't follow you, somebody that knows them could like that one, and then it all of a sudden shows up on another person's feed. Like, it's not okay. And all it takes, honestly, is a little bit of consideration. That's all you need to have. You need to have consideration and empathy for other people who may not have been able to watch these things live, or maybe live busy lives, or maybe they have kids or pets or parents to take care of and they can't get to the movies just yet, or they can't watch Game of Thrones just yet. Like, have some freaking empathy and understanding. Don't name names. Don't spoil plots. And it's not like JCap was honestly trying to say that, like, making comparison to, like, it's like watching sports games. It's the same thing as sports games. That's what he said. Like, if you haven't watched it live, like, don't worry about going on Twitter, it's gonna get spoiled for you anyway. Like, no, that's not how this works. It's literally apples and oranges, comparing those two things.
Well,
again,
you can also compare
people.
apples and oranges. Like, I don't see why
No,
you
can, but they're two different things. They're both fruit.
You know what? Here's the thing. I still, like, I don't watch GOT. I've watched the season finales of everything in like one episode of this season. I just don't really care for it. But so I know everything that's happening. But I'm not going out and spoiling it. Even though I don't care about it, I'm not spoiling it. I just really hope that it all wraps up at the end of it, that it's just like some kid is like, it's his imagination and he's just LARPing. just to troll everyone. That would be the
Isn't
best
that like your same
possible
theory for
ending.
Smash Brothers? Or for Smash Brothers Melee?
Yeah,
Is that your
I
same?
think it'd be great. It's just some kid pretending to murder dragons and stuff out in the field somewhere.
I mean,
that's what it comes down
isn't
to.
that basically, because it comes from the mind of someone else, so technically that is
I suppose
accurate.
so. All right,
We're still
theories
like,
aside, we
went
gotta
deep
move
meta.
on. Next up, Nate Schott expressed great disappointment and quoted this tweet by Optics owner and CEO Hector. He says, "This is simply unacceptable at FedEx. I hope I can get replaced this somehow."
The most disappointing and most unfortunate news was received this morning. FedEx, we were trying to play a prank on Nate Schott by sending him his trophy. Maddie took this to FedEx, and look how they wrapped a trophy. Well, look how they didn't wrap a trophy. They thought that they were just going to be able to put paper around this thing, and look at the trophy. This is Nade's, like, probably only tournament win ever. And but no, this is no laughing matter. Look, the trophy was broken. FedEx, how are you guys professionals at packing and you don't have the common sense to pack this correctly? Look at the box when it was just returned. Look at the state of this box. It is just like caved in. Unbelievable. Somebody needs to answer for this. This is unacceptable.
Oh, that is feels.
I know, because you haven't actually won a trophy in anything.
Wow! Are you kidding? I actually have a lot of trophies at home, by the way, BT Dubs. I do. I'm going to bring them all in. It won't even fit on this desk, actually. I have a lot of trophies.
Okay, but none of them were like as precious and as glass.
As glass.
As
They weren't
that.
as glass. That is true. They weren't as glass. Okay, I might also just say, like, it's kind of their fault. I mean, like, they did, FedEx obviously seems to be work. They replied saying, hey, we're going to try to help you out here.
Yeah.
But it like, doesn't seem like it was like, when I'm packaging something that fragile,
Yeah.
I'm packing it myself. I'm not leaving it up to someone else to do.
Well, no, but when you have money or when you have an organization saying, hey, go and send this to him, somebody will just take it to FedEx and pay them money to do their job. And obviously FedEx did not do their job. They replied to this, but I love how Josh OG
Yeah, we need to talk about how he replied.
Josh OG responds to that reply from FedEx, literally copying word for word, but in like a SpongeBob derp.
Yes.
And then like, I love how, I think it was Diesel. Diesel replies to him being like, yo, how long did this take you to type out? And Josh OG's like 10 minutes. He said 10 minutes, but like once he was already 30% in.
He's like, once you're 30% in, there's no going back at that
Like
point.
it's fun to laugh at, Nate Schott's pain, just for like a minute, but
Isn't that how Nate Schott found out too? That
Yes,
it got
that's how
broke?
he found
Through
out.
oh my God.
I know.
Why would someone else just ruins your trophy for you?
I know, but hopefully that gets. I think they're gonna make a replacement for him.
They can
Hopefully,
get another one.
it's his one and only pro trophy. Gotta make it
Shots
work.
too, yeah.
Listen, our last pro fun thought is from one of those quote pros unquote, because let's call a joke, and this guy is a full-on joke. Another one of society's little stains, but hey, look, he's getting the airtime he desires, so here we go. Keemstar shares that same clip we showed you yesterday from the Collegiate Fortnite Esports event where pros said they were retiring from Fortnite. He follows up his rip Fortnite with, remember when you killed my Fortnite community event, pulling 9 million viewers a week? Fortnite, LOL. Hi Keemstar. Hi Keemstar. Dude, you actually were the one that ruined that
Can we
Fortnite
mute
partnership
him?
with your frequent toxicity, so don't get it twisted for a couple more legs. Just remember that, bud.
Yeah, I would love to use that on him, but not 30 seconds, just permanent. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you mean? Like 9 million people passed through it. That wasn't like 9 million active. 9 million people would have passed through, but that's any esport at the beginning, man. Like, it's just because you were there at the beginning when it was popular. You didn't start anything. You didn't make anything. It was going to get it no matter who was doing that broadcast.
No, but like the fact remains that he thinks that he can actually he doesn't think, he knows, because that tweet just last night had 6.5 people like it, which means 6.5 thousand of you are idiots.
Oh, this is 6.5 people.
6.5 thousand people are so dumb. Like the fact that you continue to follow this idiot and continue to give him the likes that he craves so much, you continue to feed this ego that is literally based off of nothing. All he's done in his life is troll others and take joy in trolling others and making other people's lives miserable. It's not okay. He continues this. Honestly, somebody DM me, I won't say who, telling me like don't even bother because like his followers will try to get you.
Oh, yeah.
They'll come after you. I'm like, honestly, it's like at this point, bring it. full on bring it. I want this to happen. Like, Keemstar needs to be taken down. And obviously he already has because he's not really getting any partnerships.
He's
taking himself down. He's not getting partnerships with these big. I love that he wants to do Rocket League stuff too. But it's like Psyonix would attach their brand to any of the toxicity that this guy brings to the table. He sucks full on. Remember when he had the 100? He's like 100. If I get 100K
Marissa, I'm
retweets,
with you. I'm doing this because we got to move on.
Why?
It's enough. Let's move on because it's time to get the crowd control because it's meme time. We got cool-ish, funny-ish, all the ish. Video games get sweeter as we get older, as Reddit user Donor Tierkuchin points out here. Playing Pokemon as a kid and playing Pokemon as an adult because you finally have the money to buy the games and understand all the mechanics. Straight up, as like, have games not like got like better, like Animal Crossing just gotten better now that you understand the meta, you understand how things work? Are you still, gone?
I think, oh, no, I'm unmuted. Okay, sorry. I was talking and then I realized that I can't actually say words. No, I love it. That reminded me of a little, that Professor Layton kind of crossover, when you just like, you become a little more refined. Like, you're still playing your cartoon puzzle games, but like, with a monocle, little mustache.
Oddly enough, though, I feel like it's been the opposite for me because like I'm now too competitive. I'm like, no, I need to min-max all these stats. I need to, do all this EV training and stuff, and like it's just not fun. I enjoyed the days of Pokemon where I'm like, I'm gonna capture this one because it looks really cool. I don't care if it's good.
No, my mistake with playing Pokemon, and I realized as I got older, was that I renamed all of them. I always renamed them so that when I got older,
what was your first Pokemon's name?
Chimchar.
Chimchar? No, that's what you called it? That's the name of the Pokemon.
Oh, that was my first Pokemon that I renamed to something else.
Yeah, my Bulbasaur was named Shoddy.
Shoddy?
S-H-O-T-Y.
As in Shoddy.
Yeah, but it was just like, because it shoots out the vines.
Oh,
so it was like shooty,
okay.
but I misspelled it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that was 10-year-old me.
Real mature. Next up, Harry O. Price shows us disappointment in cake form, saying that the fact that they tried really hard makes it even worse.
What do you mean? It looks normal to me. It looks great. Here, watch. I'm actually gonna check.
I suppose it's gonna look the same way in the end, right?
Yeah, here, look.
Oh, yeah. Are you making one? Frody.
I'm making a Pikachu.
This is not.
See, his looks way.
Can you show me? Oh my God! You literally did that right now. I thought maybe you had pre-planned it. Why is his leg inside his body?
That looked normal to me. It looks like a gremlin.
It looks like you drew arms and legs.
I can't draw at all. This is awful.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as that cake tasted good, doesn't matter. It's the effort that matters.
That's true, but it just belongs in those. I don't know where you find them. If it's on Reddit now, or it's just like Pinterest fails, where people like go onto Pinterest, they try to recreate something. It's just
that was basically that. Yeah. Essentially.
Full on fail.
All right, moving on. It is time for our last post. Fear My Beard is going to teach you guys how not to win a race, or do, I suppose. It's up to you.
Oh.
So far, yeah, this is normal driving to me. This is how I come down the laneway.
This is how you got that ticket.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be chasing me if that, boom! Oh. Literally wrapped around. Oh. Can you imagine the police investigation after? So how dead was he? Yes.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so bad. I was not expecting that.
It's so sick how like, you can literally wrap the car around a tree. The physics beyond that is so sick.
Yeah, because this is a video game and but that would be horrifying.
Oh yeah, don't do that in real life.
No, this is why you shouldn't get arrested or shouldn't get tickets for stunt driving, Brody.
I don't.
Like, honestly.
Oh no, I wasn't doing backflips.
No, you weren't, but like you were going really fast. I don't want you to get hurt, okay?
Yeah, it was for my safety. Ironically, it was for my safety,
I know,
okay?
Did you learn the lesson?
Why do you have to keep bringing this up? It hurts so much.
I know, but I just want to make sure that you learned a lesson and that you'll drive safer in the future.
Yes, I learned a lesson. Don't get caught.
No! That's it for Unmuted today. Remember that you can always hit us up on our socials just to say hi or send us stuff we can react to. Someone type !mark in the socials right now in chat, and we'll see you tomorrow.
You don't necessarily have to be first.
Oh my God! I love pizza!
This is also a fire hazard. Oh, thanks, guys.
One out. Sorry. Slices are missing.
I don't know where they went, man.
Can we also also get a PogChamp in chat, please, for Ron's birthday. Remember, you can always send him your birthday wishes on socials. Just remember to tag him at Renanthera. Now, just in a bit, caster ZP will be calling in to talk about the Overwatch League. But before we get to that, let's talk about the news. The 2019 Mid-Season Invitational in League of Legends kicks off tomorrow, but Riot was forced to make some big changes just a couple of days before it all began. Why's that? Well, this year's tournament is taking place in Vietnam, and a week ago, former Vietnamese president Lee Duc-Anh died of an illness. As a result, the government declared 2 national days of mourning on May 3rd and 4th. That means no events or activities can be held on those days. Since 2 days of the play-in stage were supposed to take place in that time period, Riot had to improvise. Instead of 24 matches being played over 4 days, the play-in stage will now feature those matches over 3 days, specifically May 1st, 2nd, and 5th. That means more matches each day and a longer broadcast as a result. It's great to see Riot accommodate local customs, but hopefully it doesn't affect each team's performance. Over in Dota 2, the final spot in the upcoming MDL Paris Disneyland Major has been decided. After 6 days of grueling competition at the Dota Pit Minor, Ninjas in Pajamas won it all and claimed a place at the 4th major of the Dota season. They also take home $125,000 US and 120 Dota Pro circuit points, but nobody really cares about that. All that matters to Dota players is competing in every major and hopefully playing well enough to secure a spot at the International. And considering NIP will have to tangle with the likes of Team Secret, Team Liquid, and Virtus Pro, the team has its work cut out for them. The first day of IEM Sydney has finished, and FaZe Clan is fielding some new faces to help them at the biggest CSGO event in Australia. FaZe is playing their coach, YNK, along with Icon esports star Ustillo in place of Nico and Adrian, who couldn't attend due to visa issues. Many were speculating that FaZe would have to withdraw from the event before the subs were announced 2 days before IEM Sydney began. Nico tweeted this morning that he was still waiting on a visa, so there's a chance that the subs could be playing for FaZe for the entire tournament. While FaZe may be missing 2 of its star players, they appear to be doing quite well so far with the subs. FaZe crushed Chief Esports in its first match, and it looks like they'll be able to do the same thing to Energy Esports in a few hours.
Oh my god, Rhea in a good position here to pressure with this Tracer soon trying to duck out. Oh, unbelievable! Okay. Just before that, getting the shot on Godspeed. 3 now for Soon.
Dallas going to try to engage. Shatter's really going to have to pop. They see OG over onto the side. He's going to be taking that now with the hammer. Going to be trouble with a big one. Tail fight so many members. Priest coming up with a double kill. No, going to be popped out. They finally broke it through on the back of the Shatter.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Esports in 30. I'm AJ Fry. This is Ron Renanthera Lee. He's the coach of UC Irvine's Overwatch team, and we are both very excited to have you here as we talk about, well, not owls this week. We're going to be talking about cows because it was all about the Cowboys down in Texas. See how I tied that together?
I'm probably on the wrong show. I mean, I don't have my cowboy hat. I do have my denim, but my horse ain't here, so.
We have Stetsons
definitely
underprepared else in the studio. Yes, it was the first ever home games in Dallas, Texas, and one minor power outage aside, it was quite a ride. Today we've got another reason to celebrate as well. It's Ron's 16th birthday, everyone.
No, the internet will believe you because of my youthful face. I am 24,
Happy
in fact,
birthday,
believe it or
my
not.
friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does that mean, you know, now that like I'm 24, you have to bring me a present?
Yeah, actually, I do have a present for you.
Yeah?
I do.
Okay.
Another Overwatch analyst who can offer some insight into the game, not just you today.
Lessons for me to do.
Yeah, and on the other side of these highlights, we'll get that expert's perspective. But hey, let's check out the highlights first.
Rides a lot of this momentum. Oh my gosh, that grab was very early. AKM lets it go now. Trent stands to respond for the Los Angeles Valley, but it may not be enough. It's a big shatter from OG. Everyone in the valley knocked to the ground. 2 big ultimates coming in the latest possible moment. He is trying to make plays. Oh my God, Rhea in a good position here to pressure with this Tracer soon trying to duck out. Unbelievable! Just before that, getting the shot on Godspeed. 3 now for Soon.
All right, a lot in the series, yeah, completely. Gonna use it now. He heard him, man. All right, something starts coming in. Oh, the show! 4K with that Diva bomb.
Run it out there.
Oh, what a beast!
They're making crazy progress right now inside of the Hunters. The London Spitfire need to get in here and start actually challenging this payload, or the Hunters are just going to walk it up to the second point for free. And sure enough, that's exactly what they do. The Hunters literally walk the payload up to the second point under the Spitfire's noses.
Minefield dropped down with Gooseway here soon. Potentially compromising situation. Nico's taken down by a mine. Soon gets pile driver to Gooseway, has 3 already. This is going to be pretty one-sided now after such a good hold. I like the immortality field placed down there by Gray. Going to be tough to get rid of, but Gooseway swings in and gets the job done. 4 kills for the Wrecking Ball in this fight. He's everywhere at once.
It is the moment that you have been waiting for. We are coming back for the Battle of Texas.
Dallas going to try to engage. Shatter's really going to have to pop. They see OG all over onto the side. He's going to be taken down now with the hammer. Going to be dropped. The big one. Tail fight. So many members. Priest coming up with double kill. No, going to be popped out. They finally broke it through on the back of the Shatter. Wayne Feet comes in from closer. Just trying to
Jake's down. No, Jake is down.
Finds Jake. No one's going to be gone. Can they actually make it happen?
Against everything.
They can. Gorbat's going to be eliminated as well. Three members against the world. Dallas Fuel start pushing forward.
The grab came out later. The support ultimates were better, and the Dallas Fuel still came up. The winners, Notes Bomb, enough field.
Coming in.
They have the touch.
Take it down in midair. They cannot tag it. Dallas Fuel, they take it home.
A super hype crowd, and it was a huge crowd as well. Joining us now to talk all about everything that went down over the weekend of incredible games in Dallas. Welcome, Andrew ZP Rush to Esports in 30. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be on with you guys here today. And it was quite a weekend for esports in general, but especially for Overwatch down here in Dallas.
Well, that's one of the things we wanted to ask you about off the top. I mean, you've been a very vocal proponent of having games in home cities. Now we've actually had one. Is this going to shut up all of the naysayers? Is this really establishing the new trend for teams to have local home games? Is this what we've got on the horizon?
I think it was an incredibly important step. And also, I think people that were paying attention already saw that home games are going to work out the way they did here in Dallas. If you go all the way back to 2017 at the Sydney World Cup stop, the crowd there was ridiculous. I remember just talking with Golden Boy this weekend where we were both up in Boston. Fun story where even though I'm in Dallas 5 minutes from the event, I was actually here this weekend. We were off doing the Boston Collegiate Cup. But, you know, Golden Boy brought up a really good point saying, hey, the part where I knew regionalization was going to be awesome was this event in 2017 in Sydney. So the fact that you go down here to Dallas, now you've had time to build a fan base for the Fuel, you give them a bigger arena, and the crowd is absolutely electric, it really shouldn't surprise anyone that is paying attention. And it does, I think, generate a lot of very positive hype and goodwill towards the league where, you know, this was a bigger question mark for people that maybe were wondering, well, sure, it worked on a national scale, but it's going to work within a city scale. And I think the answer was a resounding yes.
Well, talking about that a little bit, I mean, you touched on the points of positivity. There was some controversy on social media about booing and jeering in the audience and whether or not that should be allowed.
Sporting event?
Yeah, the sporting event. Where do you sit on that topic, ZP?
I mean, very clearly, welcome to sports. That is exactly what's going to happen in sports, where the entire sort of debate for a long time and the hurdle that esports has had to go over is, you know, how do we make esports as accepted as traditional sports that have come in from before? And home games are a big part of that, but also sports fans, where if you get very strongly behind a team, you're not only going to cheer your team heavily, you're going to boo the other team. That is sports in a nutshell. And I mean, Dallas fans are tame compared to what I would expect other fan bases to be. If you walk into Boston, if you walk into Philly, really anywhere in the Northeast, the Northeast in particular, known for some pretty strongly willed sports fans, I got news for you. You're going to get booed. But it's not. I think the disconnect for people is people are thinking that this is something personal against the players, as if it's some sort of hate towards the players on an individual level. It's like, no, people aren't hating on the players on an individual level. They're supporting their team, and the boos go towards that we don't want your team to win, not we think you as a player are bad or something like that. So I think on some level, people aren't understanding the nature of boos and jeers and all the rest, is that it's never, in most cases, oh, we think this about a player. It's just, we don't want your team to win. We really want our team to win.
Yeah. And it's just an uncommon thing to see in esports in general, because we're as esports fans, we're always the underdogs, and we're always supporting all the teams. Like, yay, we're all celebrating the fact that we're doing this thing that is still sort of bubbling under the surface. But now with Overwatch League, we've got this opportunity where you can add that competition between the teams. Are we going to see more of this in Atlanta when we get their homestand?
I think we're going to see a whole lot of it in every homestand, really, as we go forward. And like I said, Atlanta, I think we're going to be getting a lot of it. LA, when we go to rivalry weekend, even though Blizzard Arena has been it's been based in LA, it's set up as a melting pot, right? Where it's like everyone move in and equally support your teams. I think you give a scenario that get multiple thousands of people in, all with the idea of supporting LA, and you're going to see it there as well. And like I said, just wait till 2020 where you start getting this in the aspect of, home areas like Philly and Boston, where it's going to be wild.
Well, let's talk about, I should say, our home team for this past weekend, the Dallas Fuel. 4-0 against the LA Valiant, 3-1 against the Houston Outlaws. They haven't quite secured their playoff spot yet for the Stage 2 playoffs. Looking fairly likely. Looking pretty strong. What were your thoughts on their play overall?
I mean, Dallas has been on an upward trend, and you have to look back to the trade they made with Boston, right? Where RCK probably wasn't the overall best fit for how Fuel was playing. Fuel, instead, they bring in Note, and Note plays a more protective style of Diva overall, and it's really been helping OGE shine very heavily. So the Dallas tank line really is looking fantastic relative to where it was before. And as we're still in a meta that's heavily around 3-3 style strategies, I think overall that trade really did reinvigorate Dallas.
I mean, talking about reinvigoration, I mean, I'm sure being the home team in that crowd must have been like the biggest boon you could have asked for. I mean, the Dallas fans were crazy. They had the cowboy hats and everything. But, on the other half of that stadium was Houston. Give me your thoughts on them and how they played this weekend, ZP.
So Houston coming in, I mean, I think it's clear that Houston is still sort of searching for their identity, where I think it's pretty clear that they're not really going to be a truly top-level 3-3 team and how it is right now, even though there's still points where, not to reopen recent talks, you have to run 3-3 at certain points of the current meta. But I mean, Dallas or Houston in particular, okay, we can throw away the Soul game, they just kind of blapped.
Yeah.
And Houston in particular, they've definitely been having issues in regards to how to approach first points, where it's weird. They've looked a lot better on defense than they have on offense, where on offense at times they've just looked lost. Even going back to their game against Vancouver Titans earlier in the season, where you think back to their Eichenwald setup where they held the Vancouver Titans on second, and then they just fell apart on offense. So, I mean, even this weekend, they've continued to struggle on offense, but you take a look at what happened, particularly versus Fuel, where they're more willing to break away from 3-3, and they did so to a mild degree of success. The matchup, even though it wasn't something they won, it was 3-1, it was closer than expected, and it was also really good for the arena, right? Where even though I think Dallas fans would have been more than willing to just cheer for an outright stomp, the fact that it was closer, that was 3-1, that was still in contest until the very end, was still pretty good.
Well, we saw Jake back in action, obviously a big face for the team, but was his play up to the level of his notoriety, I should say?
I think Jake has been a better look for them in the roster than Arhan, where I would guess that the struggle for Houston behind the scenes is, even though Arhan, if you look at it, some people would argue that Arhan is a more mechanically adept player, Jake clearly brings a different level of shot calling and just energy to the team, where people comment on it jokingly, right? Where you look at the player cams and you just see everyone's quiet and, oh, Jake is now just reciting an essay to the entire team as it goes forward. Even though, obviously, in-game it's more balanced between the two, Jake definitely brings more energy to the team just behind the scenes. I think that much is fairly obvious. So I think Jake being in the roster was a good thing for the Outlaws. The problem that the Outlaws have now, of course, is that they've lost so many games towards the tail end of the stage that I don't know if they're completely eliminated, but it's not looking good for them actually getting in the stage playoffs this time around.
Yeah, they desperately needed like a 2-0 this week, but they didn't. Two teams that did were the Spark and the Dynasty, who now are looking really good coming into potentially going to playoffs.
Haven't clinched it yet.
No, but they're very close.
Couple of wins away from that.
Yeah.
So thoughts on Spark or Dynasty?
Spark is a
Hunters.
Hunters in Dynasty. Okay, well, if we're going to talk about Dynasty, I think Dynasty has just been remarkably solid this stage. Obviously, they've made roster change-ups where they decided to kind of get away from running Fisher as their main tank and look more towards Marvel, and it's been more the era of Marvel and Fitz, and it's been a lot better for Seoul, where it feels like they've found an identity, they've found something that's worked. And you take a look at, say, power rankings that me and Avast have been doing regularly. We have Seoul pretty up there in the top 5 teams, and it means that you look back to what they were able to do against New York back in stage 1, where Seoul didn't look very good in stage 1. They ended up being New York, and everyone kind of chalks up to being a bit of a fluke, which to a degree I would argue that New York didn't play well, but Seoul's been surging really, and they've looked really good this stage all in all.
Moving on from that a little bit onto the Hunters, I really want to get to this because you slipped into it a little bit. But watching your podcast, we know you have something called the Hunter Zone, and I'm really excited to talk about this. Can you maybe explain to the audience a little bit what you mean by the Hunter Zone, this term that you've coined?
So the Chengdu Hunters have been a force of chaos this entire Overwatch League season, where you have an established meta, and then Chengdu comes in and they go, no, we're going to have our Lord God Among move in on him and just disrupt everything. But the Hunters have been on a decline here, and what it's really come down to is that I would just argue that the Hunters have been sort of the reality check to teams of, are you running a good 3-3 or are you not? And in the beginning, a lot of teams were pretty sloppy. They would try and run a 3-3. It wouldn't be something where they would either be heading in together in a well-coordinated way. They would struggle with ult economy, whatever. There's multiple ways to fail in a 3-3. And if you were running a sloppy 3-3, Chengdu would beat you. They would beat you pretty soundly.
Right.
But the trend that we've seen developed over time is that Chengdu, with the style that they play, cannot really beat teams that are on the higher end of the OWL and on the higher end of just running a well-executed 3-3. And, you take a look at the last weekend where, Chengdu loses Spark, Chengdu loses Spitfire, Spark being on the uptick now where, it seems like they're starting to remember how to play. Spitfire, who has been looking fantastic pretty much all stage now. I think we're starting to see the idea that people have figured out Chengdu, but also they've figured out themselves and how to actually play well in this meta.
Right. But looking at that roster, do you credit their success on this radical different play style to anyone in particular, or do you think it's more of like a coaching thing or a team-wide dynamic sort of thing?
Well, I'd say for this is that obviously coaching-wise, they've probably eked out about as much as you can for a DPS style, so I do think you have to give some credit to the coaching staff. Obviously, main take-wise, no one expected Among to actually do well, by the way, because the entire point for Chengdu is that Among was not supposed to be the starting main tank. That was supposed to be Jakirin. And obviously he had visa issues, so no matter what, trying to separate the memes aside, because Among is like kind of hit this level where, how do you separate is really good versus, it's just a meme of this Hammond player? I would argue that, he's been standout, and that's easy. Obviously, you look towards players like Jinmu, where Jinmu on projectile DPS has been remarkably good. I mean, that's something you also need here, is that if you're going to run a Pharah, the Pharah has to be top-notch to maximize opportunities you get, particularly in punishing a 3-3 when, before they get to point, right? Which is one of the more vulnerable areas. I mean, overall, I think they've been playing pretty well for what they have. Also, Yang Zhaolang, very, very good moments on hit scan. So I'd say the DPS for Chengdu have been performing remarkably well. The problem is that the meta is just kind of stacked against it.
How do you think they're going to fare against Seoul moving forward?
Right now, I would never take Chengdu over Seoul.
Oh,
not even a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to ask. I think it's Spark going up against Seoul.
Yeah, Spark going up against Seoul.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Because they set up this whole storyline after the homestand, right? Where they both went 2-0 and sitting at 4-2, I believe, right?
Yeah. So they're both looking to edge one another out for that final lock-in
and they play each
spot.
other in the final week.
Yeah, let's see. And when is that matchup going down? Let's see. Seoul
in week 5, I believe. Spark
so week 5. Yeah, Dynasty Spark is actually ending it all on May 5th. Sunday, May 5th is when that's going.
It's going to be a big game. Who's going to edge the other out here.
Yeah, do you have a horse in this race, CP?
I would still say Soul. I mean, even though Spark has been looking better, and Spark, I mean, obviously Spark does have talent on the team that we know can be super explosive, like Gouchway and otherwise. I have to take Soul. Soul's just been way more consistent over the course of the stage, and I mean, their surge essentially started all the way back in stage 1, whereas Spark, I'm not convinced that they can keep up their current level of play all the way through the remainder of the stage. We'll see, but if I had to be pressed right now, I'd say Soul 3-1.
Well, a team that has not been keeping up their level of play. They started strong, but they've had 3 straight losses. Paris Eternal. You do, of course, casting for the Contenders League. Could they be looking to their Contenders lineup to bring talent up to replace some of their pro players? What do you think they've got to do in order to turn their game around?
I mean, the number one thing you'd look towards Paris that, all the analysts have mentioned and all the players have mentioned, really anyone that looks at Paris for half a second, is that Paris has struggled because even though they're a 3-3 team and they have players that are comfortable 3-3 coming up from EU contenders, of course, Paris trying to keep a very EU-centric team as part of their identity, is that Zarya play has not been their strong suit. Just hasn't. So it comes to a point where they need to find a better Zarya player to move on in. And, for example, there are good Zaryas and EU contenders. One player you might want to look towards, and being a longtime veteran with the ability to play a whole lot else, if we could have a 3-3, is someone like Davin, right? Where Davin's been kind of one of the lost children of EU in the sense that he's a player that a lot of people thought would have gotten in Overwatch League Season 1. Didn't happen. Overwatch League Season 2, or rather the 2019 season, comes on in. Not on in, maybe you look towards him. Regardless, their Zarya play has been always an Achilles heel. And also, I think the thing that's rough for Paris is that when, as a team, you get into a downward slide, it's hard to reverse course. So you hit a point where you kind of forget how to win.
Right. I mean, we're talking about EU, so let's jump to the European city of, London. Their undefeated stage, unfortunately, is over, but we've heard they recently added Quartermain to their roster, who is a part of KR Contenders. How much do you know about Quartermain, and do you think he'll help London kind of find more success moving forward?
London, actually don't know a whole lot in regards to roster changes that they might have been making, but I will say for London moving forward is that even with the recent setback just this weekend, London is a team that it's kind of, you don't know if you're going to see good London show up on a day or bad London, right? Where it's kind of, that's like, not really sure what's going to happen for London. But really for London, I think the main thing is, are they going to have a good enough record to make stage playoffs? That's pretty likely in this particular stage. And then once you actually put them at playoff round, so long as they're, again, it always sounds reductive. It's like, are you putting London on feels? Yes, I'm putting London on feels and how effective they are, because their team, if they win map 1 and it goes well, they usually just tend to roll for the rest of the series. If something dumb happens where they win map 1 and say get full held on the second map, they can just sort of mentally boom and find themselves in a situation where they just throw the rest of the series. I don't know. It's hard to evaluate London, aside from the fact that so long as they've done enough to get in the playoffs, they're always a threat.
Well, they just did an interesting thing on their lineup. They switched Prophet to play Zarya, and they had Birdring switch to play Brig.
Yeah,
so they just flip-flopped their roles. Are there other instances of this happening in the league, or is this a pretty new thing, and do you think this is going to help London in a big way?
I think Houston ends up doing it a couple of times with Jake on Brig versus Spree's on Zarya otherwise, but sometimes they have Dante on it and people just kind of shuffle around. How do you feel about people kind of shifting roles within the team like this?
I mean, generally speaking, it's not the best idea in the sense because you're already messing with the established setup. I'm trying to remember back, there was one team in Overwatch history that used to do that way too often. I feel like it might have been one of the old Complexity teams or otherwise, where in addition to swapping players, they just swap roles and there was no consistency and it just very much hurt. I think it really depends on what the coaching staff is seeing and what's going on in scrims. Because the problem is with 3-3 right now, particularly we're talking about DPS players like Prophet and Birdring, right, is that these players don't want to be on tank and support-centered heroes, period, right now. That's not their bread and butter in Overwatch. So to a degree, it's just finding what they're going to be comfortable on in the short term and seeing if it's going to work out. Because remember, to begin with, these players have had to flex things that generally they wouldn't be playing anyways, just because the meta has sort of removed the ability to play DPS in a lot of situations. So under the context of what we're seeing here, I mean, look, if it gets into something they're more comfortable on, it's working at scrims, why not?
Yeah, well, on the topic of being comfortable, one team that definitely looks not comfortable whatsoever are the Valiant, coming into this week, losing both games to Dallas and Seoul, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're now officially out of playoff contention. How do you feel about Valiant moving forward, and especially about kind of what's going on with Kariv and Izayaki? I think there was a stat shown that said their win rate when Izayaki's playing over Kariv is like something like 20-something%, and they win 70% more with Kariv or something like that.
But they're always pulling Kariv out of the lineup.
Yeah, so, I mean, talk to me about Valiant, their coaching decisions, and their rosters and all that.
Realistically, I feel like you could have a member of Valiant on here, and they wouldn't be able to explain half of what we've seen from Valiant over the last 2 stages. I mean, it's a team that is soul searching right now. They are trying to figure out anything to reverse the slide that they've been on. And I mean, it's been tough. I would also say that they've been, struggling to do certain things that aren't really up their alley, where, a good example is one of the bigger trends we've been seeing in Overwatch, particularly if you look at regions like Contenders Korea, is that it's very important to be able to run a good Sombra Goats from time to time. But the person that usually flexes on that is your Diva player, and Valiant finds themselves often in situations where they go, well, I guess we'll put Space on Sombra. Problem is, Space is a much worse Sombra than he is in Diva, on top of just other issues with Valiant, where obviously you look back at coaching changes that happened in Stage 1, roster shifts where Custa wasn't playing forever, now Custa's back in. It just seems like there's been a reinforcing cycle here in Valiant where, on top of the fact that they had a rough Stage 1, on top of the fact that they've had big coaching changes and otherwise, they haven't found anything at all over the course of the season that works for them. And Stage 2 basically gone. And now I guess the issue is for Valiant is they have to figure out for Stage 3, is it still salvageable with their current roster? Do they need to make swaps in some form or fashion, look for a trade, a call-up, whatever it may be? I mean, again, I don't have the answer for Valiant offhand, and clearly Valiant doesn't have the answer for Valiant, so... it's a bit problematic, though, just because it is a team that on paper does theoretically have a lot of talent on it. You think back to players like Fate, where before the start of the season, people will have all put Fate in their top 3 team or tanks in Overwatch League, along with Space one of the top off tanks. It's been perplexing how Valiant has underperformed to the degree that they have.
Well, we just got a couple of seconds left here, and we got 3 playoff spots that have so far not been clinched, and there's 6 teams fighting for them. Of the teams out there, we're talking Hangzhou, Seoul, Dallas, Shanghai, Chengdu, and Philadelphia. Which ones do you think will make it into this second stage playoff?
All right, so let me take a look at the standings here to get a better view of this.
Currently, it's looking at Fuel, Spark, and Dynasty in those spots, but of course, Dragons and Hunters and Fusion aren't far off either.
Taking a look at here, I don't think Spark is really secure of getting in the stage playoffs.
Well, they've got a negative win integer, so
yeah.
Or map
Shanghai could sneak in. I would not be surprised. Also, if Shanghai sneaks in, don't forget that Shanghai, the reason why they have 2 losses is that they had an enormously tough schedule in the very beginning of the stage. So I think Shanghai has a very good chance of getting on in. And if they do, watch out, because I think Shanghai could go pretty deep. They've been playing very well, and probably one of the most underrated teams in OWL right now. Taking a look at the rest of it. I think the top 6 is pretty much solidified. I think Gladiators through Fuel, if you take a look at the top 6 right now, all those teams will be getting in. It's just a matter of the final 2 spots. I think if I had to go for it, I would guess that ends up with Dynasty and Dragons going in and Spark not. But obviously that all comes down to that Spark Dynasty match we were just talking about.
Yeah, should be very exciting. And just like that, we are out of questions and time. CP, thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to hearing you cast what is sure to be some great Contenders playoff action.
Thank you so much.
That was some excellent insight from ZP, but as we just said, time is running out, so let's go over some Overwatch-related news of the past couple of days, including the World Cup announcement with a whole new system for countries entering the World Cup. It's a little over my head, so Ron, you're smart. Break it down for me.
All right, so back in the day, last year and the years prior, when I was working the World Cup as well, how it worked was you'd have your qualifiers. Oh, yeah, a little bit. So people would play in these qualifiers, and then there was like 4 of them. Yeah. Then like top 2 teams would move on and play each other in the final. It was like this whole system. You don't have to think about that anymore. It's different now.
So why'd you mention it?
Again, the whole little. Anyways, enough about me. The new system, how it works is the top 10 countries, based on prior World Cup performances, get flown in to play in Anaheim, where all the matches are going to be played for the qualifier. Cool. All in that one location, right? That sounds nice. Sweet deal for the guys in the top 10. Yeah. Every other country is allowed to field their own teams and compete in that qualifier of their own volition if they think they have the capacity to win and stuff. Right. But because they're not top 10 teams, they have to find their own way there, their own cash, pay out of pocket, or crowd funds or whatever. So, if you're already a good team and you already have good funding and good press, and you don't need those flights, you'll get them free anyway. But the other guys that aren't so privileged will still have to cough up the big bucks to get there and play and compete.
So how are Blizzard going to fix this for next year's World Cup to make it more fair? It seems like this is a process that requires a little bit more tinkering.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that reason.
It's better as in terms of, it's better and worse. I like the fact that it's not on like a rating scale to kind of get them through the qualifiers. It's like if you want to compete, you can come and compete.
The opportunity is there for everyone.
Exactly. It's not gated by skill. It's gated through money for the flights. But at least then, like countries that might not ever get the opportunity to play can still play now. They just have to
enter.
Yeah, they just have to kind of get their community funds up, and that's up to them and their the press and whatever. Yeah.
Well, maybe someone out there can solve the problem in the new workshop, which was just announced for Overwatch. Yeah. It's pretty cool. The opportunity there to do some rudimentary coding within the game available now. Of course, Blizzard, this isn't the first time that they've done something like this for one of their titles. I remember making maps back in the days of Warcraft 2 and then Warcraft 3 and StarCraft and such. Exactly. Yeah. I would love an Overwatch map designer, though. They haven't.
I would love that.
Haven't given us
that. I want that more than this
Same
version.
here.
Yeah.
When they announced Workshop, I was like, is there a map editor?
Yeah.
Is there a map? There's no map editor, but you can do coding.
Yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Not that my map editing skills would be up to the challenge.
Have you tried the workshop?
I haven't tried it at all.
I played it a ton.
Oh, okay.
I played it a ton. I already have a few favorites. There's one mode where some guy programmed it where if you're playing Widowmaker, it was headshot only Widowmakers, but if you killed someone, you would teleport to their location. So it would make for like really, really crazy streaks of like highlights where, you know, I'd kill a guy, I'd go to his location. Kill another guy. I felt like Nightcrawler, but with like a sniper rifle. It was insane.
And, that's cool.
I did some wall riding exercises with Lucia where if I like left the path, I would just die. And they'd like time you.
That sounds like it's up my alley as a Lucio man.
Like surfing or whatever, right? You got modes like, you know, Hammond ball races. You've got, I saw a mode where if you emote at someone at the right angle, they die. You know, just really fun, wild things. And we're only like barely a week in. Yeah. So imagine, you know, given some more time and more fleshed out systems. Like I've seen people already started doing like Battle Royale Overwatch maps.
I've seen some of that too.
Some like MOBA style elements where you can like buy items and stuff like very League of Legends.
That's what I thought when they announced it originally. There would be a MOBA mode. Hey, is there one in there to train you how to wrap up a show?
Yeah, it's, well, what you do is you pick Lucio.
Look to the prompter and say, we'll have to play some of these new modes sometime soon, but it'll have to be later because we're all out of time. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, ZP, and thank you out there for watching us. Tomorrow we're back with Brody and Marissa talking all things Smash and Street Fighter, so get your headbands and hand wraps ready. Till then, click our social buttons! ! Socials. See you in the future!
Thanks to the boys and of course ZP for calling in and talking about the Overwatch League, and shout outs to Red Bull as well for fueling us in the green room. Remember, we will be back tomorrow with more Unmuted, and we have a very stacked esports in 30 with special guests calling in, so you wouldn't want to miss that one. Until then, you can always reach out to us on our socials at Squad State. So until then, we'll see you tomorrow.